All right, YouTube gang, how are you today? This is Tom back again with another guitar lesson in my 30 days of guitar lessons here in September on Fountainhead TV. So we are in the middle of tapping week. This is day number 4, if I remember correctly. And what we're going to do today is to expand this pattern that I have here from yesterday with some 8-finger tapping. Something like that. So, 8-finger tapping. Well, it's kind of a sensitive topic for a lot of people because there seem to be these guitar players who are under the impression that if you don't use all 4 fingers, it's not 8-finger tapping, and then it's not cool. Well, to me, there's not really a line where regular tapping stops and 8-finger tapping starts, right? It's just, and if there is, it's probably the moment, probably the moment where you let go of the pick, or you don't have to pick in your picking position anymore. So sometimes what I will do is I will use this magic trick here, where I will bring the pick into the middle of my hand and keep it there with the thumb. Right? Little magic trick. And then obviously I have all these 4 fingers at my disposal if I want to play something like that. So that's cool. Or sometimes, like in the live situation, if that is not an option, if I really have to use 8-finger tapping, I will, just put them between my teeth. And fun fact, I took 1 or 2 lessons from this guitar player when I was a teenager. He was a jazz guy, and he had this habit of putting his picks here on his forehead for whatever reason. It looked completely ridiculous. Anyway, so now this whole 8-finger tapping bit gives us a lot of options. And what I would recommend to get started is to just expand what we've been doing before. So for basic bitch 2-finger tapping technique, we can now try to add 1 more finger to it. So let's say we just take this whole step between A and B, and we just add a chromatic note in between. And then we can do the same here. And maybe here there's a half step, not a whole step, so we just add this one below. So pretty cool. And as you can probably see, there's a lot of little details going on. So first of all, I have my thumb here up on the neck. So the reason for that is that it now becomes an anchor for the right hand, that the same way that my left hand thumb is an anchor here. So that enables me to switch positions and really feel my way around the fretboard. And in the same way, the right hand thumb enables you to do that. So for example, if I go from this to the lower octave, I can just feel where to go by way of, rotating the thumb a little bit. So that's a great tool, and you can also just use it to get from picking position quickly to where you want to go. This is a feeling thing. If you've done it a couple of times, then you just feel, even though if you don't necessarily see where you have to go. So right now I'm looking like past the camera. I'm not looking at my fretboard at all, and I just know that if I do this quick thing, I will be right above the 15th fret. And looking down, yep, I am. There I am, right? So this is a feeling thing, and the more you do it, the better your mental roadmap of the neck will be. But at the beginning doing this, you probably feel pretty lost, right? And remember how it felt when you were just starting out playing guitar with the left hand. You probably had trouble even finding any particular fret by feel, because you haven't weren't doing it enough at that point, right? And the more often you played, the more the fretboard just became this familiar place. And now you can just say 9th fret, G string, and there you are, right? Hopefully, at some point that will happen if you just play enough guitar. So a lot of people who are really capable guitar players, they will start doing this 8-finger tapping thing, and they will get frustrated because this right hand, even though they can play all their Eddie-isms and whatever, it just feels like you're completely stumbling in the dark, which is natural because you have the same starting ground now with the right hand that you had on the left hand. So you have to invest the time and you have to put in the work to really get to know the fretboard. And what I recommend you do, which I did a lot when I was a teenager, I would, back then I still had a TV. I haven't had a TV in like 15 years, but I would be watching something and I would just, chill back on the couch and I would try to just play a scale, all right hand, while muting with the left hand, right? So that would be a great exercise that you don't really want to focus on actively too much, but you just want to train your fingers to find their way around the fretboard, just like you did with the left hand. So that's a great exercise. If that feels too strange or too hard, you may want to try just starting with chromatics. Right? Downwards is a lot harder than upwards. See, very much out of practice with this stuff, but you get the idea. So you can do that and then move on to scales. So back to our little lick. So right now we are at the point where we've filled out these, these whole steps of chromatics. So that's nice. So now let's play the scale, play more of the scale. Let's add the C here. Now take some getting used to from the chromatics. And again, the basic technique is very much the same. You keep, while ascending, you keep all those fingers on the string, and then one by one use the combination of the force of these fingers, and then the final pull off towards the floor with the picking motion to create the sound, right? It's a lot harder to not have 8-finger tapping sound weak in comparison to the left hand. So you really want to put in a lot of pressure on the strings. Excuse me. Put a lot of pressure on the strings to really get that snappy thing that we had when we were using 2 fingers, right? And if that was way too quick of an explanation of what is going on there, well, then you probably missed the earlier videos, and you want to definitely go back to those and see that, to find the ones on day 1 and day 2 where really in depth explain the concept behind this pull off technique, right? All right, so well, the scalar thing is pretty self-explanatory, but you can also push yourself a lot more than that. So at this point, the question is not whether I'm going to fuck up, which the thing that I'm about to attempt, but how badly, right? So bear with me. Don't throw things at the screen if I fuck up too bad. Anyway, so because we now don't have the pick holding us back, we can just use wider stretches and get big intervals. So for example, we can now, instead of doing the chromatic or the scalar thing, we can use pentatonics. Right, so that's pretty easy because the frets are closer to each other. So now let's do it here. So this is way harder because now the threads are further apart, and that means that we can't just do this stretch. We have to bring in the pinky, and that's where things get complicated, because the pinky is just, whatever you do, it's always going to be shorter and less strong and less muscular and less flexible. So I think my pinky is pretty well trained from all the hybrid picking I've been doing over the years, but still it's always a bit of a gamble if I bring in the pinky. And then here, you can do the same thing. Well, there it is, the fuck up. So yeah, that's always a fun thing to do. Mixing, scales and mixing different patterns in the left and right hand. That is definitely something you want to work on and explore. Right? Lots of different possibilities. And obviously you can push yourself even further. You can go to, the sole truth of 8-finger tapping, where you really use all four fingers. Oh. So that's maybe a way to achieve the dexterity and precision with that. If you just try to pick a scale, and then work your way up. That's really not my forte. Absolutely not. There was a time when I was a teenager when I was working on this stuff quite a bit, because I wanted to be able to play stuff like Buckethead. But that is something I eventually over the years just dropped, because there's really only so seldomly a musical situation where that actually makes sense, unless you really want to push this ability. So more power to anybody who can do that and just have complete control over their 4 tapping fingers. For me, 99% of cases it will be either with a pick and then using these 2 fingers, or not using the pick and using these 3, with maybe the odd pinky note in between. So yeah, but in terms of pulling this off, in terms of technique, I think this should be, pretty clear to you now, right? If not, do let me know in the comments. Give me your best diss of what I did not teach you but should have. And if you need to tap for this, I'm going to post it in the linked social media profiles, so Facebook and Instagram. As always, do please ring the bell, the subscription bell, so that you won't be notified when there's a new video coming out, which is conveniently tomorrow. So tomorrow I have a good one for you tomorrow. I have a little exercise training finger independence and hand independence for you. That's cool. So looking forward to that. We're gonna see each other tomorrow. Happy shredding, happy practicing. Love you guys. Bye.